Welcome to this explainer. Every single time you tap your credit card or click that Buy Now button, there is this massive, totally invisible machine of psychology and economics at play. Today, we're pulling back the curtain. We're going to uncover exactly how companies build, package, and, price the things we buy every single day. So, whether you're an entrepreneur, a marketer, or just a curious consumer, wrapping your head around these hidden mechanics is absolutely going to change how you see the marketplace.
Think about the last thing you bought for a second. When you grab an everyday item, like a smartphone, a cup of coffee, maybe a streaming subscription, it's actually super fascinating to stop and ask yourself, what are you truly paying for? Because the raw materials, they usually make up just a tiny, tiny fraction of that final cost. So are you paying for the plastic, the glass, the liquid, or are you actually buying a feeling, a solution, or even an identity?
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. First, what is a product? Then we'll look at goods, services, and experiences. Next up, setting the right price, followed by new product pricing strategies, and finally, common pricing approaches. Let's just dive right in.
What is a product?
Right off the bat, a product is not just some physical object sitting on a store shelf. It's really a carefully constructed bundle of value, perfectly engineered to satisfy specific need or want. We're talking features, quality, branding, support, the whole shebang. And companies know that the strategy for this bundle shifts dramatically depending on its life cycle, whether it's brand new, in a growth phase, maturing, or kind of fading out. Like, think about a DVD player in its decline phase. It's priced and marketed way, way differently than a hot new generative AI tool in its explosive growth phase, right?
So let's break down how that value is actually built. Imagine your smartphone. You're definitely not just buying glass and microchips. It's more like a layered cake, where each part carries real weight. Right at the center, making up a huge chunk of the product's identity, you're buying the core benefit. Things like communication, connection, convenience. Then the next layer out is the actual product. That's the physical device itself, that sleek design, the operating system. And finally, on the very outer ring, you have the augmented layer. This is the warranties, the app ecosystem, customer service. Honestly, that warranty is just as vital to the final price tag as the microchip inside the phone. Put them all together, and you've got the total perceived value.
Moving on to Section 2, Goods, Services, and Experiences.
Okay, I absolutely love this coffee shop analogy because it just perfectly highlights the differences here. Let's look at the economics. First up, we've got goods. These are tangible, storable things you can physically hold. You drop maybe $10 on a bag of roasted coffee beans, and it lasts you all month. You buy it, it's yours, and the brand is pretty much hands-off after that. Next, we have services. These are intangible and, perishable, like handing a barista $4 for a few minutes of their time to whip up a latte. You're actively involved in ordering it, and you're kind of judging the quality in real time. But then, we have experiences. These are highly designed interactions meant to emotionally engage you. You might gladly pay $7 just to sit in a beautiful, aesthetic cafe, listening to some cool indie music, soaking up the free Wi-Fi. The big takeaway here? As the offering gets more intangible, businesses can charge a much higher premium.
Which brings us to Section 3, Setting the Right Price.
Think back to that cafe for a second. It's pretty straightforward to crunch the numbers on a bag of coffee beans or a stack of paper cups. But how in the world do you price that intangible feeling of relaxing in a cozy room, or the sheer convenience of lightning-fast internet? Seriously, take a second to ponder how you'd even begin to calculate that. I mean, it requires a much more complicated formula than just adding up raw materials, that's for sure.
Pricing is basically like setting a restaurant menu. Picture a giant scale. On one side, you've got your raw ingredients and operational costs. Obviously, you've got to cover those to hit your profit goals. But on the other side of that scale, you have to reflect the customer's perceived value. Like, what are diners actually willing to pull out their wallets for? Then you've got to look out the window. Check out the competition and market demand. What's the spot across the street charging for a similar steak? And on top of all that, you have to navigate legal, ethical, or distribution constraints. It's this continuous, delicate balancing act to keep that scale perfectly leveled out.
All right, Section 4, New Product Pricing Strategies.
What is so wild about these two launch strategies is just how differently they attack the market. Price skimming means launching with a really high initial price. Think about Sony dropping a new PlayStation, or Apple releasing their latest high-end iPhone. They are maximizing profits from those early adopters, the folks who literally just have to have it on day one. Then, over time, they slowly dial that price down to scoop up the rest of the market. On the exact flip side, you have penetration pricing,
which starts incredibly low. When Spotify or Uber first hit the scene, they basically bled money with massive discounts just to get on your phone. Their goal wasn't instant profit. Actually, scratch that, it was all about rapid adoption, scaling this massive user base to build a moat and freeze competitors right out of the water.
Let's head into Section 5, Common Pricing Approaches.
So, once a product is actually established, businesses use a few different frameworks to manage the day-to-day. First, there's cost-based pricing. Pretty simple stuff. You just calculate your costs, tack on a standard markup, and boom, you have a price. It's super safe, but honestly, it totally ignores what the market actually wants. Second is competition-based pricing. Imagine two gas stations right across the street from each other, just constantly matching prices. It's great for highly commoditized stuff where you're just benchmarking against direct rivals. But the third one, value-based pricing, is where things get truly fascinating. This is all about maximizing a customer's willingness to pay. It's exactly what luxury brands do. A Hermes bag or a Rolex watch. They aren't priced based on the raw cost of leather or steel. No way. They're priced on exclusivity, brand prestige, and what the buyer thinks it does for their personal image.
And then we get into the really advanced psychological stuff. Take airlines, for example. They are huge on dynamic pricing. You've seen this. Fares constantly shifting based on the time of day, how many seats are left, surging demand, you name it. Combined with that, companies use psychological pricing to mess with, well, to influence how our brains process value. They'll use anchoring, showing you this massive original price crossed out next to a sale price so it feels like an absolute steal. Or charm pricing, like ending a price in 99 cents. Studies literally show that an item priced at $19.99 will consistently outsell the exact same item priced at a flat $19. Why? Just because of how our brains read numbers left to right. We see the 1 and the 9 and instantly categorize it as cheaper. It is 100% about perception.
So, to wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a little challenge. The very next time you're out shopping, whether you're buying a morning coffee, some software, or booking a flight, I want you to look really closely at what you're buying. Ask yourself, what layer of this product am I truly valuing right now? Am I paying for the core benefit, the physical good, or have I just been captured by a brilliantly executed pricing strategy? Basically, who really decided what that item was worth to you? Keep your eyes open and happy observing.